it was a night unlike any other. The sky was painted black, the stars hidden by thick clouds, and a chill hung in the air. Kelechi stood outside a small hut in a village far from home, the echo of angry voices ringing in his ears. The mother of the woman he loved was shouting, her words stinging like poison. "You think I will allow my daughter to marry a man who has nothing? Leave this place." Her harsh rejection cut through the night, and Kelechi stood frozen, his heart heavy, wondering how things had spiraled to this point. Kelechi, a young man of 30, had left his home to travel to a distant city in search of love. In his village, no one knew his true identity as a prince. He had grown tired of people only being interested in him for his wealth, so he chose to keep his status hidden. In this new city, he wanted to find a woman who would love him for who he was, not for what he owned. But as he walked the streets, he met several women, each one crueler than the last. They looked down on him, assuming he was poor because of his simple clothes and quiet demeanor. One by one, they turned him away. Some laughed at his humble appearance, others mocked his dreams. Kelechi felt his hope slowly slipping away, until one day, he met Adamma. She was a kind and beautiful woman from a poor family, and unlike the others, she treated him with respect. Her eyes sparkled with warmth, and her smile lit up the darkest corners of Kelechi's heart. They spent days talking, sharing stories, and soon, their bond grew stronger. But as their relationship blossomed, trouble brewed. Adamma's mother was furious. "We are poor, but my daughter will not marry a man with nothing," she declared. The mother could not see beyond Kelechi's appearance, and no matter how hard he tried to show his love for Adamma, it was never enough. Her friends joined in, whispering behind her back, urging her to find someone better, someone richer. Adamma, however, remained steadfast. She loved Kelechi deeply, even though she had no idea he was actually a wealthy prince. She believed in his kind heart and gentle soul, but the pressures from her family began to weigh on her. Kelechi, too, felt the weight of their disapproval, but he refused to give up. He knew Adamma was the one he had been searching for, and he was willing to endure the storm to be with her. The days turned into weeks, and the tension between Kelechi and Adamma's family only grew. Her mother's rejection became more brutal, pushing Kelechi away at every opportunity. Yet, despite the pain and humiliation, Kelechi stood firm. He had come to the city for love, and now that he had found it, he would not let it slip through his fingers. But even the strongest hearts can only endure so much. As the days passed, Kelechi felt the weight of rejection more deeply than ever. Each time he arrived at Adamma's home, her mother would find new ways to humiliate him. She mocked his simple clothes, his worn shoes, and the way he carried himself, always reminding him of the little he had, or at least, the little she thought he had. "How can you think you deserve my daughter? Look at you," she would shout, her voice sharp and biting. Adamma stood helpless, her love for Kelechi unwavering, but the constant disapproval from her mother and friends wore her down. Even in the marketplace, whispers followed them. "Is that the man Adamma is seeing?" people would murmur. "Her mother is right, he has nothing. She could do better." One day, Adamma's mother took things further. She demanded that Adamma choose between her family and Kelechi. The ultimatum hung in the air like a heavy cloud, threatening to break the bond they had built. Kelechi, heartbroken, tried to speak to Adamma, but she was torn. Her love for him was real, but the pressure from her family weighed on her heart like a burden too heavy to bear. Maybe my mother is right," Adamma whispered one evening, her voice shaky. "I don't know what to do anymore, Kelechi. I love you, but this has become too much." Kelechi's heart ached. He could see the doubt creeping into Adamma's eyes, and for the first time, fear settled in his chest. What if he lost her? What if the love they shared was not enough to overcome the storm? "I understand, Adamma," Kelechi said softly, though each word felt like a dagger in his chest. "But remember, true love isn't measured by wealth. I may not have riches to show, but my love for you is more valuable than anything money can buy." Adamma nodded, tears filling her eyes. She knew Kelechi was right, but the pressure was overwhelming. Her mother had done everything to push him away: public humiliation, angry outbursts, and even threats to disown her if she continued seeing him. But then something happened that changed everything. One afternoon, Kelechi stood outside Adamma's house once again, determined to win her mother's approval. As he waited, Adamma's friends passed by, mocking him as usual. But this time, Kelechi felt something different stir inside him. He had been patient for too long, hiding his true identity, hoping love would triumph without the need for his status or wealth. But now, he realized, it was time to reveal the truth. If they would not see his worth through love, they would soon see it through the power he possessed. He was done playing the role of a poor man. The time for pretending was over. Without another word, Kelechi left the village. When he returned days later, everything would change forever. Kelechi disappeared for several days, leaving Adamma confused and worried. She missed him terribly but feared what his absence might mean. Had the pressure finally broken him? Had her mother's cruel words and her friends' constant mockery pushed him away for good? The silence was deafening, and the longer Kelechi stayed away, the more Adamma's heart ached. Her mother, on the other hand, seemed satisfied. "It's about time he realized his place," she said smugly. "A poor man like that has no business with my daughter." Adamma said nothing. She had always defended Kelechi, but now doubt crept in. What if her mother was right? What if Kelechi had left because he couldn't handle the weight of their struggles? The thought pained her, but she refused to believe it. Deep down, she knew Kelechi wasn't like the others. He was different, and she held on to that hope. Days passed, and then, one evening, the entire village was stirred by a sight no one had expected. A grand procession entered the village, led by a line of horse-drawn carriages adorned with gold and bright colors. The villagers stopped in their tracks, their mouths agape at the splendor before them. Who could it be? They wondered. No one had seen such wealth and majesty in their small town. Adamma's mother stood by the market, watching the procession with wide eyes. Who could this be? She whispered to herself. The carriages stopped in front of her house, and her heart raced in excitement. Could it be a suitor for her daughter? Perhaps a wealthy man who had come to take Adamma away from the poor beggar she had been seeing. But when the door of the leading carriage opened, her excitement turned to shock. There, stepping out in rich, regal attire, was Kelechi. The man she had ridiculed and rejected, the man she had sworn her daughter would never marry, now stood before her as a prince. His royal robes shimmered in the fading sunlight, and a crowd gathered, whispering in disbelief. Adamma, who had been inside, rushed out at the commotion. She froze when she saw him, her eyes wide in disbelief. "Kelechi," she gasped, unable to recognize him. This was not the humble man she had fallen in love with, this was someone else entirely, someone powerful, someone royal. "I came to show you the truth," Kelechi said, his voice calm but firm. "I am not the poor man you thought I was. I hid my wealth because I wanted to find love, not someone who wanted me for my riches. But now, it seems my worth was never seen without them." Kelechi nodded, then turned to Adamma, his eyes softening. "I have loved you since the moment we met, Adamma. And I hoped that love would be enough. But it seems the world we live in sees only wealth." Tears filled Adamma's eyes as she rushed to him. "Kelechi, I never cared about your wealth. I loved you for who you are," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I know," Kelechi replied, taking her hand. "And that's why I still want you by my side. Will you marry me?" Without hesitation, Adamma nodded, her heart filled with joy. But as she embraced him, her mother watched in disbelief, her face pale with regret. All the insults, all the rejection, she had done everything to push away the very man who would have brought her daughter happiness and security. And now, standing before her was the prince she had unwittingly rejected. As the villagers watched the scene unfold, Adamma's friends whispered in awe. "So he was a prince all along," one of them muttered, her voice tinged with jealousy. The wedding was grand, and as Adamma and Kelechi were wed, the village celebrated. Her mother, however, stood to the side, her heart heavy with the weight of her actions. The man she had once scorned was now her son-in-law, and the daughter she had tried to control was now married to a prince. The regret in her heart would haunt her for years to come. As the wedding celebrations continued late into the night, Adamma's mother stood in the shadows, unable to shake the shame that clung to her. The joyful songs and the sound of drums filled the air, but to her, they felt distant, hollow. She had spent so much time focused on wealth, believing it was the only thing that could bring her daughter happiness, that she failed to see the true riches of love and kindness right before her. Adamma and Kelechi, now married, were surrounded by friends, family, and villagers who danced and sang in their honor. Kelechi, dressed in his royal robes, stood tall beside his bride, who looked radiant in her wedding attire. Despite all the hardships they had faced, their love had triumphed. As the night wore on, Adamma noticed her mother standing alone. She excused herself from the celebration and walked over to her, gently taking her hand. "Mama," Adamma said softly, "everything will be fine now. I wish you could be happy for us." Her mother looked into her daughter's eyes, tears brimming in her own. "I am happy for you, my child," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But I am ashamed of the way I treated Kelechi. I judged him without knowing his heart. I let my pride and greed blind me." Adamma smiled gently, her heart filled with forgiveness. "What matters now is that we are together, Mama. Kelechi loved me even when you didn't believe in him, and that's what makes him truly rich. I only hope you can see that love is more important than wealth." Her mother nodded, wiping away her tears. "I see it now," she said quietly. "And I will spend the rest of my days making up for my mistakes." Kelechi, watching from afar, joined them. He smiled warmly at Adamma's mother, extending his hand. "There is nothing to make up for," he said kindly. "We all make mistakes. What matters is that we are family now." With those words, a sense of peace settled over them. Adamma's mother took Kelechi's hand, her heart lightened by his forgiveness. Together, they returned to the celebration, the weight of the past lifted from their shoulders. From that day on, Adamma and Kelechi lived in happiness, their love unshaken by the trials they had faced. The village, once full of whispers and judgments, now admired their union, a testament to the power of love over wealth. Adamma's mother, once blinded by her own fears, became a strong supporter of their marriage, cherishing her daughter's happiness above all else. And as the years passed, Kelechi's and Adamma's love only grew stronger, a love built not on riches, but on the strength of their hearts. The story of the prince in disguise became a legend, told around village fires as a reminder that true wealth lies not in gold, but in the love and kindness we share.